I want to tell you about the evening I came home early. I wasn't supposed to be back until 9. The plan had been clear, a work dinner that was expected to run until at least 8:30, then the drive home. I had texted him at 6 to say I was going, as I always did. He'd replied, "Enjoy, see you later." Normal as anything. The dinner ended at 7:15. A client had to leave early, the whole thing collapsed politely into desserts and a quick farewell, and I was in the car by 7:30. I thought about texting to say I was on my way early. I didn't, for no particular reason. I was tired and it didn't occur to me as necessary. We'd been together for 2 years and coming home was just coming home. I pulled into the street at 7:50 and I saw a car I didn't recognize parked outside the house. I thought nothing of it. A neighbor, probably. Someone visiting on the street. I parked behind it and got out and walked to the front door. I heard voices before I got the key in the lock. 2 voices. His and a woman's. Conversational, unhurried, the sound of people who had been in the same room for a while and were comfortable in it. Not intimate in any way I could have described specifically, just easy. The particular ease of 2 people who are not performing, who have forgotten to be on guard because the person who would have required them to be on guard was not supposed to be back for another hour. I want to try to describe the few seconds between hearing the voices and putting the key in the lock. It was not a long pause. It was not even particularly dramatic from the outside. I was a woman standing at her own front door, putting her key in the lock, as she had done hundreds of times before. Inside, something had already understood. I don't know how. The sound of 2 people comfortable together, in my house, on an evening when I'd said I'd be out until 9. Something added that up before I'd consciously done the arithmetic. By the time I turned the key, I already knew in some quiet, specific part of me that what I was about to see was not going to be nothing. I stood at the front door for a moment. Not frozen, I was moving, just slowly. I put the key in the lock. I turned it. I opened the door. He was in the kitchen. She was at the kitchen table, sitting in my chair, the one with the slightly different armrest I'd always preferred, with a glass of wine in front of her. When I came through the door, both of them looked up at the same time with the specific synchronized attention of 2 people who had been startled by something they didn't expect. I knew from their faces immediately. Not from guilt exactly, though there was that. From the configuration of the room, the wine, the ease, the table where we ate dinner together every evening, now occupied in a way that was entirely ordinary on its surface and entirely wrong underneath. I didn't say anything for a moment. I put my keys on the hook. I took off my coat. I said hello to her, because she was in my house and it was the civil thing to do. She said hello back. Her voice was steady, which told me she was either very composed or had had enough wine not to feel what she should have been feeling. He said my name. That's all, just my name, in the tone of someone who has run out of every other option. I asked him who she was. He told me her name. A name I didn't recognize. Someone he'd met through a mutual acquaintance, he said, which is the kind of sentence people construct in moments like that, a category without information, a shape without content, an answer designed to satisfy the immediate question without opening the ones that follow. I asked her to leave, politely. She gathered her bag and her coat without making eye contact and left through the front door. I heard it close behind her. I heard her car start, the unrecognized car that I'd parked behind on my way in, which now I understood. I was in the kitchen with him and the 2 glasses of wine and the chair I always sat in on evenings when everything was normal. I did not sit down. I stood near the counter and I took a moment to look at the room, at the table where we'd eaten dinner together more than 500 times, at the shelves where our books were mixed together in a way that had taken 2 years to accumulate, at the photograph on the wall we'd bought at a market on a Sunday in October, the one we'd both liked without having to discuss it. I took all of that in and then I asked him, quietly, how long this had been going on. He sat at the table, at his usual seat, the one that didn't have an armrest, the one that was his without either of us having decided it, and he looked at the surface in front of him and he began. He didn't pretend it wasn't what I thought it was. He sat at the table, at the seat opposite the one she'd been in, the one he always used for dinner, his ordinary chair, and he looked at the surface in front of him and he told me. 4 months. A woman he'd met at a work event last autumn. They'd been meeting outside, at restaurants, occasionally at her place. He'd invited her here tonight because I'd told him I wouldn't be back until 9. He'd had 2.5 hours. He'd used them. I was back at 7:50. I've thought a lot about the 40 minutes between when he thought I'd arrive and when I actually arrived. What would have happened if the dinner had run its normal course? If the client hadn't left early? If I'd stopped for petrol or taken the longer route home? She would have left before 9 and I would have come home to a clean kitchen and a man with a plausible evening behind him and no reason to know that anything had happened. 40 minutes. The difference between knowing and not knowing, compressed into a client's early departure and a dinner that ended at 7:15 instead of 8:30. I'm not grateful for the accident of it. I'm not grateful for any of it. But I'm honest enough to acknowledge that the accidental discovery, the specific wrongness of arriving early to find someone sitting in my chair, was a cleaner kind of truth than the one I might have been working toward for months. I didn't have to gather evidence. I didn't have to watch quietly and accumulate observations. I just came home. He left that weekend. He moved his things out over 2 trips on a Saturday, which I wasn't there for. I'd arranged to be elsewhere. When I came home, the flat had the clean, particular silence of a space that has recently been halved. His books were gone from the shelf. His kitchen things were gone. His coat was gone from the hook by the door, the hook next to mine where it had hung for 2 years. The chair is still in the same place. I've sat in it since, many times, for meals and for mornings with coffee and for evenings with books. It's a good chair. It didn't deserve any of what happened in it. It's just my chair again now, which is what it always should have been. I think about the 40 minutes a lot, the gap between 7:50 and 9, between when I arrived and when I was expected, between knowing and not knowing. That gap existed because a client left early and a dinner ended without ceremony and I had no particular reason to announce myself on the way home. None of those things were under my control. I just showed up when I showed up, and the time I showed up happened to be the time that told me what I needed to know. I have made peace with the accidental nature of it. I didn't earn the knowledge through weeks of careful watching or through a single well-placed question. I just came home at the wrong time, from the right place, without announcing myself, and the 40 minutes that were supposed to protect everything he'd been doing collapsed into nothing. I've been asked since whether I'm glad I found out the way I did, suddenly, without preparation, walking into my own kitchen. I'm not sure glad is the right word. But I'm honest enough to acknowledge that it was clear. Unambiguous in a way that other kinds of discoveries sometimes aren't. There was no question of misreading something, no doubt about what I'd seen, no version of the story where the woman in my chair had an innocent explanation. Just clarity, arriving in the way that clarity sometimes arrives, all at once, uninvited, while you're still holding your keys. Sometimes that's all it takes. If coming home early, or arriving somewhere at the wrong time, from the wrong direction, at the wrong moment, ever told you something you needed to know, drop it in the comments. Subscribe. New story every week.